the New York Times is reporting that local district attorneys are teaming up with debt collectors in order to intimidate consumers into paying back money that they owe to merchants, but also paying extra fees that they don't need to pay for financial budgeting classes. Now, this is a fascinating story because what they're doing, the debt collectors, is they will take letterhead from the district attorneys and they will make the letter to the consumers appear to be from the district attorney themselves, right? And in it, it'll say that they are going to face prosecution unless they pay back the money that they owe to merchants. Now, this only has to do with bounced checks. And a lot of times, you know, consumers will write checks without realizing that they have insufficient funds. And as a result, the check will bounce. And a lot of times people don't even know that that happened, right? And this is happening throughout the country. There are hundreds of district attorneys' offices that have done this. And these classes on budgeting cost between $150 to $250. So they will pay that money back, they will pay late fees and things like that, and then in addition to that, they will pay for the class. That money for the class goes to the district attorney's office, which is why the district attorneys will agree to allow the debt collectors to use their letterhead.
This story makes my blood boil because this is so many different things going wrong in the country encapsulated in one story. First of all, they're killing us with the fees. They cut taxes on the top brackets, and then they got to get the money somewhere, right? So what do? Fee on top of fee. And we've talked about this many times on the show. Parking. Now, traffic tickets, regular traffic tickets for regular speeding, $400, $500. It's who can pay that? It's insanity. And then when you can't pay it, they send the debt collectors after you. And now we're bringing debtors' prisons back. Mm-hmm. All you need is some sort of connection to the government. You can't. If you owe me money, I can't send you to prison, although they're trying to challenge that in some places, right? Because the corporations want to crush your spirit and they want to get every dollar they can out of you. So, hey, listen, if they can use the arm of the law, they'd love to do that. And we did a story about how they were trying to do that in Vegas because somebody owed money to the casinos, etc. But they find an excuse to use the government so then they can threaten to arrest you. So they can ruin your life, put you behind bars unless you pay up. And so these big corporations who decide, I'm going to collect on this debt, right? Whether it's money you owe to Walmart or whoever else, and I'm going to cut the government in on it. So they'll have an incentive to play ball. Right. Hey, you know what? Don't worry, DA's office. You don't have to do anything. And I'll get you $250 into this BS, education camps or whatever the hell they're sending them to, right?
Right. Now, look, let me give you some more detail into this story because it is illegal to knowingly write a check when you know that it's going to bounce, right? However, it's very, very difficult to prosecute those individuals because how do you prove that that individual knowingly did that? A lot of times it happens on accident. For instance, the New York Times profiles the story of Angela Yartz, and she wrote a $47 check to Walmart. She didn't realize that it bounced, and then months later, she got contacted by the DA's office, which was really the debt collectors using letterhead from the DA's office. And it said, you will be prosecuted unless you pay the fees and unless you take this class, right? Now, keep in mind that in this country, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But this assumes that you're guilty and you have to prove that you're innocent. So, you know, they're paying hundreds of dollars for these classes that they don't need. They don't really face prosecution, and they're being lied to.
Yeah, and look, you take an original $47.95 she didn't even realize she owed. By the time she finds out what's going on, they say, okay, now you owe us $280. But wait a minute, what happened to the $48? Well, I added my fees, the government added their fees, and if you don't pay up, we're going to threaten to arrest you. Now, look, man, they're crushing us. They really are.
They definitely are. And by the way, the district attorneys love this because it means that they don't have to deal with handling these cases. Usually when there's a bounce check, the merchants will contact the DA's office. But in this case, the DAs don't have to do anything. They just let the debt collectors do the work for them. In fact, a former district attorney says the following: it was a way to deal with a fairly serious nonviolent crime going on in the business community, but not overburden the court system or the resources of the district attorneys.
Look, they're outsourcing fundamental government tasks to private corporations and companies, some of them large, some of them small, who profit off of imprisoning us, or at least in this case, threatening to imprison us. And I guarantee you some of those people actually did go to prison if they didn't play ball with the debt collectors, okay? And you can't do that. If you do that as the government, they have a financial motive to threaten us and imprison us to no end. We're not supposed to have debtors' prisons. We're going back to a time when the rich and powerful ruled everything and the rest of us had no rights. And it's sick, it's grotesque. And they do it in sometimes large ways, but they also do it in subtle, small ways like this. And most of the media doesn't talk about it at all. Credit to the New York Times for a very good story. But oftentimes, people up in CNN, and I only use them as an example, but in a lot of the establishment media think, I don't know anybody that owes Walmart $48. I don't know anyone who's getting hounded by the debt collectors, because everybody there is making a lot of money, right? So they don't bother reporting this. So it happens to so many of us, and by the way, you think you're alone. You think, well, it must just be happening to me, but you're not alone. It's happening to a lot of people in the country. It's just not being reported very much. And you know what you got to do? You got to fight back.